What's up, everybody? It's me, Chris, here to break down UFC 92 Ultimate 2008, or the Ultimate 2008. Real quick, I don't know, I'm not too excited about the undercard, so I'm just going to rip through my undercard predictions real quick, not really break down the fights. I got Anthony Hardonk by TKO over late replacement Mike Wessel. I got Hayo Chonen over by split decision over Brad Blackburn, but that fight could go either way. I got Matt Hamill by decision over Reese Andy. Yushin Okami by decision over Dean Lister, although he could stop that fight late, Okami. I got CB Dalloway by decision over Mike Macenzio, though Macenzio could always submit Dalloway because, as we saw in Dalloway's fights with Amir Sadali, he doesn't have the best submission defense, at least not when it comes to arm bars. And I have Chet Congo by TKO over Mustafa Al-Turk. Okay, so on to the big fights, the main three. First up, we have Wanderlei, the Axe Murderer Silva against Quinton Rampage Jackson. It's the third time they fought, so you can't really call it necessarily a rematch. Normally, the third fight in the series between two of the same fighters is called a rubber match, but that's usually because one fighter won one fight and the other fighter won the other. That's not the case, as Wanderlei Silva decisively won their first two fights. But this fight is still got an element of intrigue to it, regardless of the way those fights ended. Those fights were back in the Pride days. One was a 2003 Pride Final Conflict, the finals of a tournament, and the next one was a year later, Pride 28 High Octane. That was in 2004. Wanderlei Silva, like I said, won both those fights. TKO'd Rampage in the first, KO'd him in the second one, used his clinch Muay Thai, pretty much devastated Rampage in both those losses. Currently, right now, Wanderlei's coming off the KO win over Keith Jardine in the first round of his last fight. Before that, he had back-to-back losses to Chuck Liddell and Dan Henderson. As Rampage is coming off the decision loss to Forrest Griffin, where he lost his title. Before that, he, oddly enough, had back-to-back wins. He was coming off over Henderson and Liddell. So it's kind of curious to see these guys are coming off before the most recent fight, fought the same two fighters with different results. I'm not sure if that'll play any kind of factor in this fight, but it's just it's an interesting little thing to note. Anyways, in regards to this fight, I'm going to go with the Rampage by TKO. I know that may not be the smartest pick considering the way their first couple fights went, or ended, I should say. But the difference is, although I think Wanderlei is still a very good fighter, I think he may be a little bit past his peak. I think in his Pride days, he was his absolute top of this game. I think he may be just a little bit past it at this point with all the fights and all the wars he's been through. Also, Wanderlei was a lot bigger and stronger in Pride. I'm not really going to get into why I think that is, but he was just a much bigger and stronger fighter. I think Rampage is definitely going to have the strength advantage here. I think he had the strength advantage there, but I think Wanderlei still is stronger then than he is now. I think the cage suits Rampage's style better than the ring did, which obviously was much more suited to Wanderlei's Muay Thai style. Also, I think Rampage has more motivation to win this fight. I think Wanderlei's won him twice before, and these guys don't like each other, which is going to also make it for a good fight, other than the fact that it's just going to be a good fight anyway. But that makes it that much more interesting, in my opinion. But I think Rampage has a lot more motivation to win this fight than Wanderlei Silva does, being as he lost the first two. A couple interesting things of note. Rampage is coming off the legal situation. I'm not really going to get into it. I'm sure you guys know about it. It'll be interesting to see how that affects him, if at all. And also, he has left his trainer Juanito Ibarra and is training with the Wolf Slayer in England, Michael Bisping's camp. So it'll be interesting to see if those things play a factor at all. But I'm going to go with Rampage. I think he's going to be the stronger fighter, like I said. Wanderlei doesn't have the best chin, but he has great recovery. But I think in this fight, hopefully Rampage will be able to stay out of the clinch, Muay Thai clinch, or find some kind of defense for it, or just avoid it overall. But I think he might be able to hurt Wanderlei. And if he does, I think he'll take him down, put him on the ground, put him against the fence, and stop him with punches or elbows. So I'm going to go with Rampage by TKO. But regardless of who wins this fight, I don't see it making it to a decision, and it should be fight of the night. Next up, we got a fight for the UFC Interim Heavyweight title. The Interim Heavyweight Champion and former Pride Heavyweight Champion Antonio Rodrigo Minotauro Nogueira against the former UFC Heavyweight Champion Frank Mir. Nogueira's coming off the guillotine win over Tim Silva, where he won the title. He was getting dominated that fight, but pulled out the submission. Frank Mir's coming off the first round submission win over Brock Lesnar in Lesnar's debut. The winner of this fight, actually, interesting enough, will be facing Brock Lesnar for the real UFC heavyweight title. These guys just came off the Ultimate Fighter show where they coached against each other, built up for this fight. Should be good. Another interesting thing to note, a few years back when both these guys were champions in their respective organizations, UFC and Pride, a lot of fans were talking about who was the better fighter, who was the better submission fighter. We'll finally get to find out. I'm going to go with Nogueira by TKO. I think these guys both have really good ground skills. I'm not for sure who's really better, who applies theirs more effectively in MMA, because they both do very well. So I think on the ground they'll probably be able to negate each other in that realm. So I think it's going to end up being who has the better stand-up and who has the better stamina. In that regard, I'd give both advantages to Nogueira. I think it's going to get to the third, fourth round. I think Mir's going to get tired. Mir doesn't have the best stamina. Everybody knows this. I think Nogueira will exploit that, hurt him with strikes on the feet, maybe finish him off on the ground with punches, or finish him off on standing with strikes. So I'm going to go with Nogueira by decision, and then hopefully we'll get to see him unify. Well, we will, if he wins, unify next year with against Brock Lesnar. Moving on to the main event for the UFC light heavyweight title, we have Forrest Griffin, the champion, against Sugar Rashad Evans. Forrest coming off the decision win over Rampage where he won the title. Before that, he had the impressive victory over Mauricio Shogun Rua. Rashad's coming off the devastating knockout knockout win over Chuck Liddell. This should be a really good fight. A lot of people are, split on who's going to win this fight. Close fight, hard to call. I don't think either has a huge advantage. I'm going to go with Rashad Evans. I don't really have, I can't say definitively why I'm picking him or not, but I think he has the better stand-up, just barely, or at least he has the better hands. He has faster hands, he's more powerful. He obviously has the better wrestling. Forrest Griffin has the better submission skills, but I think that Rashad Evans should be able to avoid any submissions that Forrest goes into. I've never really seen Rashad in trouble with any submissions so far in his career. I don't think Forrest Griffin can knock out Rashad, at least not with one or two, with one blow. I've never seen Rashad stunned, and Forrest doesn't have the most power. I just think Rashad's game plan is going to be to try to keep it on his feet, move around a lot, move in and move out, find his range, land his strikes, and then move out. If he gets in any trouble, I think he'll want to take this fight to the ground, use his wrestling to do that, which I think he should have no problem doing, although Forrest is hard to get down, and Forrest is also hard to keep down, so Forrest may be able to bring it back to the feet. The one advantage I definitely do give Forrest, aside from he's the much bigger fighter, and he should be able to use his size to his advantage if he can get this fight against the fence. I think Forrest has got the much better stamina. Rashad's been known to tire late in fights, and this is a championship round fight, 5 rounds, which will be the first of Rashad's career. I think if the fight goes into the later rounds, 4th or 5th rounds, and it's a tough, grueling fight, that Rashad may wear down a little bit, whereas Forrest seems to never really tire out. Always seems to have more than enough stamina for the full 5 rounds, or full 3 rounds in most of his fights up until his last fight. So I could see Rashad maybe tiring late and Forrest outworking him to a decision, maybe putting him on his back or just landing more effective strikes late in the fight. But I think Rashad's gonna. I think they're both gonna prepare like animals for this fight, And like I said, I just think Rashad's gonna be able to implement his game plan more effectively and use his advantages, which I think he has a few more than Forrest in this fight. Should be another great fight. This and the Wanderlei Silva Rampage Jackson fight should be definitely fights of the night. So that's pretty much it for now, guys. I'll probably give my thoughts after the event happens. Probably not till the next day though, but should be an awesome night of fights. And until next time, I'm out of here. Bye.